Unmute myself.
We're expecting everybody but Judy. Is that correct?
My understanding.
Yeah.
I just sent Kevin the request for a loan. Twice this is dropped on
If you have
sidewalk.
another, you can have
No, I just need something that's more reliable, because twice this is dropped and I've,
yeah, it's still
and I
great.
look and go, oh, it's on the sidewalk.
I'm convinced that's what happened. I see it. It's still on the road. Or I put it on some heat ring. So this is. Okay, it's away. That was my compliment.
So what about this one though, is that it's narrow.
Yeah. Yeah, this is pretty thick.
At least it's, so it's navy blue. Orange.
Yeah. That's everyone so far. Yeah, he does.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for coming out for the special meeting.
There's.
It's everybody but Ron.
Check my email real quick to see if it's having trouble. Nope.
It's really beautiful. Oh, Cocoa Puffs and trailers on Saturday.
They're open? Oh, man, I gotta get up there. Last year, the stuff just flew off.
This is more
Where?
advanced, the cheaper it is. Trailers, which is northwest of Hagerstown and PA,
Clay Lake, Pennsylvania.
boondocks.
Actually, we looked at a house maybe a mile or 2 miles from there when we were looking at the old farmhouses. Needed a lot of work, and somebody bought it after we. Very pretty.
There's a lot of good selection. A lot of greenhouses. Yeah. This is pretty dry. It'd be a heck of a fall for you.
Yeah, but if I, I send them up to PA.
It's over kind of the McConnellsburg kind of way.
Yeah.
Actually, Mercersburg.
Northwestburg.
Okay.
It's just east of Mercersburg.
Well, it's 2 minutes after. I imagine Ron will be logging in any moment, but let's see if we can get started. That's okay with the staff? You ready?
Sure.
Good morning. This is a special meeting of the Hagerstown Planning Commission to consider two items on our agenda. With us today are Commissioners Chris Davis, Shelley McIntyre, Colin Plascaroo, Jim Stone, and myself, Doug Wright. Hopefully joining us soon will be Ron Thomas. Judy Wheeler has already indicated she cannot be with us today. So we do have a quorum. Also at City Hall, we have Kathy Marr, who's the Director of Planning and Zone Administration and lots of other things. And Megan Flick, our planner, and Debbie Calhoun, our esteemed secretary. So we'll move on, if we can, then to the first item on the agenda, which is consideration and recommendation of the mayor and council for a change in land management code concerning secondary front yard fences. Hope everybody has the packages in front of them or have been able to review them. We did have a public review meeting at our meeting on the 31st. We had one husband and wife join us. The names here. Mr. and Mrs. Andrews. Apparently they are quite anxious to get this done. They have 6 grandchildren and they want to put up a fence to protect them and have some other concerns too. But hopefully we're addressing most of them with these revisions, as well as a number of other neighbors. We kept the record open till 10:30 this morning for any additional written comments. Have we received any?
I have not, no.
Okay. So if it's desire of the planning commission, we can move forward with the recommendation to the mayor and council. Any questions? Yes, Tim.
Doug, I was not here at the meeting last week. Are there changes to the provision regarding fences since the March 25th?
No, no, Megan has outlined the changes as we normally do for text amendments, and the council did not direct any additional changes from that.
I make a motion that we recommend to the mayor and council the adoption of changes to the front yard fence provision as outlined in Megan's March 25th, 2021 memo.
This is Chris. I'll second.
Very good. Is there any additional discussion on the motion? Hearing none, I assume we're ready to vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed and abstaining. Shelley, you will abstain?
Ron just joined as well. I don't know if you want to.
Okay,
Staying.
thank you. Hi, Ron. We've just conducted a vote on the special, on the revisions. And so, but we do have one more item on the agenda. And actually, I'm surprised personally that I got there. I guess when you table something, it's got to appear on the next agenda. I don't know whether we're going to be willing to discuss this today or not. If everyone is with us, is ready to address it, that's fine. But we do need a motion to change basically part of the comprehensive plan. So are you all prepared to talk about this? Or anyone not prepared?
Not for a comp plan amendment, it's for a waiver of a comp plan recommendation.
Revise the vision of a change? Okay. Are we all want to proceed with this?
Now, if we change the the plan, does that need a public hearing?
We're not looking to amend the comp plan. Things have changed since this was first put in the plan in 2008, and for this particular tract, staff is suggesting that it no longer serves the public interest to require our Smith Boulevard north of Edgewood Drive if the property is developed by a single occupant or a single tax parcel. Because at that point, they just need a driveway, and then there'll be off-site improvements with R. Paul Smith Boulevard to get it to dual highway. But you can no longer make R. Paul Smith connect to dual highway at Mount Etna as was originally proposed, because the county allowed development to occur in its path. And we have been fielding a lot of inquiries about this Harrison tract where the yellow star is. And that's all been for single users or developer of a coordinated development project. And so the question has come up, what about this recommendation for R. Paul Smith Boulevard? Because in the land management code, it says, if the comprehensive plan recommends a road, then you have to at least offer it for dedication or build part of it to serve the traffic needs of your project. And so it's suggesting is on the north side, it might no longer be serving a public purpose because of what's being proposed in terms of development and because you cannot connect to the dual highway going to the north. But if this all falls apart and they decide to keep subdividing like they did with the properties on Howell Road, where you have multiple 1-2 acre lots, at that point, you would need a public street to serve those lots. But we have not been hearing that type of development interest for some time for this north of Edgewood property.
Well, how does staff take this? Because what I'm looking at or hearing is that there could be an even more serious situation down the road.
In order for this property to develop, and if it's going to generate traffic, there'll be a traffic study. And undoubtedly that will require see the red line on this map? That's what R. Paul Smith has been built so far. That would require extending that to the dual highway in some configuration deemed acceptable by the city engineer and planning commission, really. But it would be all part of a traffic study. It's just that you can't make R. Paul Smith anymore go through this track and get out to dual highway because you're trying to avoid a road coming out on Howell Road. You're trying to bypass.
Well, then so if it is developed, and you might have addressed this and I just didn't catch it. If it is developed by one building or one developer with one ownership, there's only going to be one access out of that piece of property?
For trucks, if it's a user that wants trucks, then they would line up with R. Paul Smith Boulevard and head to the south because they want to get to the interstate using R. Paul Smith Boulevard as it's constructed out to the dual highway south of Edgewood.
So again, I mean, emergency vehicles and.
Well, there would undoubtedly be driveways off of Howell as an alternative way for the employees to get to the site. And then it can be used for emergency access.
But we don't want to load up Howell Road any more than what it is now, do we?
Even if they developed more lots along Howell, you would end up with driveways. This would be the primary amount of traffic. The goal would be for to head out R. Paul Smith Boulevard south, but you would undoubtedly have driveway off of Howell because you have to access the pump station that's down there, as well as provide an alternative means for the employees to get to and from the site. And then that would provide a secondary access point for emergencies.
I mean, Howell Road is a a lot of vertical curves. It's not going to be great to take a whole lot more traffic, particularly industrial traffic.
Nothing will get improved if they can't get a traffic study that recommends a plan that would make it safe.
To me, that road is barely wide enough for a 2-lane road, much only larger equipment, especially emergency equipment, fire trucks and so forth.
Yeah, but Kathy's saying that if it is developed, it's going to have a traffic study, and that traffic study will have to be, figure out what to do with all that traffic. It's just we're putting a lot in there with one road, one major road, and I'm not sure I support driveways, but I'm not a traffic engineer.
I'm like you, Doug. I'm not supporting, driveways and so forth, but that looks like a thorn in the horse's hoof or whatever down the road.
Oh, it would either be R. Paul Smith Boulevard or a driveway connecting to Howe. If you require R. Paul Smith to go through, it would be connecting to Howe.
Yeah. Of course, we could force that developer to complete the extension of the bypass of Funkstown. Then that would give an alternate way out.
There's a multi-million-dollar bridge that would be involved.
I know, but they're asking us to get rid of this road. I realize that.
Any plan would require dedication of the right-of-way on this property for Southern Boulevard.
Well, that's not a big deal.
So
I
we're
just
looking
think-
at, go ahead.
Go ahead, Ron.
We're looking at having to make a connection to dual highway somehow in order to extend or service this plat with R. Paul Smith Road. Is that what we're looking at now? Just for me to get clear of what we're looking at.
We're looking for a recommendation to the mayor and council as to whether it would be agreeable not to require R. Paul Smith Boulevard to extend north of Edgewood if the Harrison tract north of Edgewood is to be developed by a single user or a single tax parcel. And then a future traffic study for whatever development might come along for that Yellow Star tract would have to come up with a way to accommodate whatever being proposed there, the traffic impacts that it would generate. And staff anticipates that would require that R. Paul Smith Boulevard, which has been constructed so far south of Edgewood, to be continued up to the dual highway as recommended by a traffic study.
Kathy,
Yeah.
we have fought for this road improvement for, I want to say, at least 15 or 20 years. And it's been on every single plan drawing that I've ever seen. I realize that the bridge across the Antietam Creek is a huge expenditure and it hasn't been done. But given that part of the Funkstown bypass has been completed, it seems to me likely that the rest of it will be completed too. It's just not clear when. I really hate to see us abandon this principle. I really do. I mean, we don't want to hinder development of the Harrison tract, but I think this is too important.
For Southern Boulevard or R. Paul or both?
Well, I mean, if we don't require R. Paul Smith to be extended through the Harrison tract, the whole scheme that we have, worked very hard over the years to try to implement falls apart.
Yeah, unfortunately, though, you can no longer continue that scheme and make the connection at Mount Etna Road. Can you show that map, Megan? Yeah. Because the county allowed a very large residential building to be constructed directly in the path. One more thing.
Gonna have to come down.
Yeah, I mean, that's what condemnation is for.
I mean, so what the county, we don't want to give up this traffic flow and make it worse on the dual highway. At Edgewood, we're further down. We want dual access to that land. So what, the county allowed a building there. They probably on purpose. It just shouldn't, they'll just have to tear it down.
So I'm a little bit at a loss to understand exactly how we would connect Paul Smith Road Boulevard to 40 directly northwards.
Well, there's
What exactly?
a possible scenario right now on our screen that was drafted in 2007.
It's a little hard to see, but the black line coming up from the bottom of the screen crosses over the top of that large residential building, and then it would connect into the newly configured dual highway on Mount Etna interchange.
Okay.
Is that the Crosley Shopping Center?
Yeah, right, Dunkin' Donuts right to the left, behind the big building that was built. Looks like a quad or a duplex, but I think it could be no more than duplex legally by zoning.
No, in fact, I think they had to get some kind of special exception because they built it to accommodate more units than the ordinance allowed, and then so they had to go back in and get some special exception to allow them to use the building as it was constructed instead as according to the ordinance. I mean, whole thing was just, breaking the rules, and there it is now, and it's in our way. It's in our way.
That's exactly what happened, because that building sat there for almost a year after it was completed with nothing.
I remember when they got some kind of special ruling to allow them to use the building as built, not as allowed.
But I think what they had to do is, I'm just, because I used to go by there all the time. And I watched it go back and forth. It started out as apartments, and then I think it ended up with half the number of units in there.
Doesn't
I think
matter.
it's only, I can't, it's been so long, but I remember they went in and did some reconfiguring. I remember seeing the construction crews out there working on it, but like I said, I can't remember the whole sequence.
I'm going to have to say I'm really opposed to this. For the public good, I think we need that road or some semblance of that road. That piece of property needs at least 2 significant access points. And I just think this would be a very bad move for the city, and it'll be something the city and the state will be struggling with for years and years to come to accommodate this development.
That's too big a plat.
Does this assume? Sorry, go ahead.
I say I agree with Doug. I just this is to depart from the plan that we carefully put together is short-sighted, and I agree with Doug. We should recommend to the mayor and council that they not change the requirements.
I mean, it certainly makes logical sense to me. Now, does this assume that we are going to be tearing down those last 2 houses on Howell Road that would allow access? So the lines go over 2 houses and looks like a garage?
They would have to be condemned also. Yes.
Because
I'm not sure one of them's a house. I don't know what that one is.
It's got a driveway and garages. Or
Okay.
parking spaces. It might be a business though. It's kind of ambiguous.
Like,
It's got a little,
Well, it's in the way.
yeah. Yeah. I think it's a house.
It's been in the way since day one. At one point, that was acceptable to remove it to accommodate this. I would, it's still acceptable to me.
Mhm.
Does anyone want to argue another way?
No, I certainly agree with your view on this.
Chris?
It would be a shame to have the dual highway turn into Rockville Pike. I agree with you.
That gives me nightmares.
And the thing about all this is it's not like other planning organizations like don't know about this. I mean, this has been out there for years and years and years. And, I realize it's always been an important thing to support the development of the Harrison tract, but I think if it's going to be developed as a single use site, this will just have to be an issue that they solve.
And not on the back of the taxpayers.
Exactly.
Exactly, yeah. I agree, Jim. I think you're correct. They've known about it, and either something was done inadvertently or by accident or just ignored, thinking it was going to go away, and it's happened. So I really don't know any other way to correct it.
I'm not seeing an obvious way either. And I think if the city plan was in place before the county decided to do otherwise, I think that
Yeah.
would take precedence.
Oh, yeah. I even said something to the county administrator when this was going on. And he just kind of looked at me blankly, and that was the end of the conversation.
Yeah, on city maps, but not county maps.
No, but they knew about it.
Right.
They knew about it. But I mean, you guys communicate fairly well. And they knew what they were doing. They didn't think maybe say, oh, we're going to get the city. But they knew that was a potential, and they went ahead.
Well, in any case, the plan to construct extend R. Paul Smith Boulevard north of Edgewood Drive, it's not something that just benefits the city. I mean, it benefits the county too. I mean, there's a lot of county land that will be made more useful and all that as a result of this infrastructure improvement when it happens.
I guess we need a motion though to recommend to the mayor and council not to revise the comprehensive plan for a single user,
Or to waive that requirement of the plan.
whatever the wording is. Yeah.
Recommendation, not even a requirement, it's a recommendation of the plan.
I'm sorry, Kathy, I didn't understand that.
Yeah, I didn't either.
To waive the implementation of that recommendation of the plan, you're saying that we do not want to do that.
It's still not clear, but I think
Yeah.
you're saying what I want to hear.
The transportation recommendations are that in the comprehensive plan, they're recommendations. And so the question is whether to waive that recommendation for this part of the tract. And you're indicating that you think that would not be a good idea.
Okay, I heard the last part and I agree with that.
How do we put that in a motion now?
Well, why don't you just say, as Kathy said?
As Kathy said, I moved the,
This is Chris.
Yes, Chris. Did you
I'll
second that, Chris? Well,
I'll second.
Okay, thanks. Motion made by Ron, second by Chris, that we do not make this recommendation to the mayor and council. Basically.
And I took notes.
What was that again?
Notes.
she
All
took notes.
Yeah,
We'll be talking to them about it.
okay.
Kathy, if necessary, can you put this in proper form?
Sure.
Sure.
I mean, I think I know exactly what our intent is, but
The planning commission does not want to abandon this recommendation for our Portsmouth Boulevard. You feel like it serves the public purpose still, and it should be implemented.
that sounds like a great motion.
That
That
I
is-
heard. Yes, that's great. All
I'll
right.
accept that as my motion.
And Chris, you're okay with the second, right?
I am.
Thank you. Are we ready to vote on it?
Yes.
All those in favor, please say aye.
I,
Aye.
Any opposed? And there's one,
Abstain.
one abstention, yes. All righty, I again will ask that if you could come with some kind of mic that sits in the middle of the table, that would support, I mean, Kathy, it was really rough hearing you. I heard you at the end, but
Yeah.
if there's some other device can be secured to sit in the middle of the table. And I understand also that the sound was pretty poor for our last planning commission meeting too. And I asked that that could be addressed better also.
We've been advised that the sound problems that were being experienced for the council meeting is a result of sound settings on people's personal computers.
Mm,
That you have to switch off to a different speaker system. And if you don't, then it can be screwed up like that.
Mm,
Ask me for any more details, that's as far as I can go.
That doesn't really make a whole lot of sense.
There's-
Otherwise, the entire last year would have been complete hell on everybody who works remote.
On Zoom, you have to join with computer audio, and I think sometimes guests that join on their phone probably don't do that, and that's why they have issues hearing us. Because when Paul logs in on the Zoom from a different account and he joins computer audio, he never has any issues hearing our whole meeting.
this is Chris. I've got issues and they're intermittent. They're not constant, but I did have issues last week. And I usually don't have problems otherwise
But
with other clients and things. So
Yeah, same here, and I'm joined from a computer.
and so perhaps it's just the size of the room, you know, that it's because it's got a high ceiling, it's huge. There might be an issue with that.
We do a lot of testing ahead of time to make sure we won't have any problems. That works during the testing.
Well, it's working right now, so right now we hear you perfectly, but it was pretty come and go earlier.
And if we have meetings in this room, I should sit closer because the microphone is down at the end.
where they
And
can't,
Steve,
Yes,
Yeah.
we won't be.
well, I think there's still latent problems there, and I don't think we can just simply say it's on the other end. But that's my input. I don't know enough to say otherwise. And I encourage you to look at it again because testing might work, but the reality is not. That's the feedback we're getting.
the other thing that we heard for the council chamber microphones is they need to be 6 inches away from your mouth.
Once someone pointed that out to me during the meeting, I really strived to be sure that that microphone was close to me and close to my mouth and spoke louder than normal. And I've had people say that they could not hear me well. So there it is. Yeah, I know. Ask them to look at it again.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we're done for today, I think, right?
We haven't voted on the motion yet.
Oh, thank you very much, Ron. Yes, we did. Yes, we did. Yes, we did. And
We did.
We did.
Did we? Did we?
Yes, we did.
And you said yes, Ron.
I was saying, yes, I'm ready for the motion. I didn't know that was the motion.
Oh, that was,
I
yeah.
apologize.
Are you okay with that?
Don't pay any attention to me. Yes, yes. If it's recorded and it's in Kathy's minutes, then
Okay.
it's okay.
All righty, good. All righty. Thank you all for taking this time in the middle of the day to do this. Thanks to the staff also. And